Today's shout out is for Zuldinga. Eriette the Beguiler versus Barrowin, Kasla and Omnath. We've got all of our colours, and is this the one where we tutor? Yeah, we can search for an aura. Yeah, just hope that we draw into some of the vast number of auras that are in the deck, so we'll keep. Alright, there's a talisman for us, so if we went Tapland now, Sol Ring next turn, we could go for the Heliod's Pilgrim. I think we're better to go for the talisman on turn 1 though, so go for Command Tower. Don't want to get out our commander too quickly because I wonder if our opponents will actually play their creatures out into it. Spirited Companion, when it enters you draw a card. Alright, I was actually thinking of tutoring for that one, so don't have haste in the deck, but if we can start swinging in with something that this is attached to, then that would be beneficial to us. I think we go for the Heliod's Pilgrim, hold up and offer you can't refuse, and then we can get down the tapped Tricycle land. I'm just wary of the fact that Kasla is holding up double blue. Get through their turn pretty quickly though, so maybe could have gone for cracking a Misty Rainforest, see if they're holding up priority, and then try to go for our commander. Okay, so let's go for Sage's Reverie so that we can potentially draw more cards. And, like I said, go for the Tricycle land here. Sylvan Library from Omnath. A bounce land for the Jeskai player, didn't tap down the mana before getting that down, so I'm assuming he doesn't have a 2-drop. Guardian of Gaia Report is going to flicker the dog. Alright, so a coloured mana source would be nice here. Okay, and we get into a tap land, unfortunately. Yeah, so we can't play our commander and hold up and offer you can't refuse. What we could do is go for Songbird's Blessing onto this and swing in with it, so that we can get some card advantage. Let's see what's on top of our library with the tap land. That is a Black Market Connections. I would like to keep that on top, I think, so keep that on top and we'll try and see if the Eriette is going to survive. Carnley Heart Expedition is a means of extra landfall, so plays a land into that. I think it needs 3. Yeah, 3 quest counters on that, followed by a crop rotation, so going to make landfall again. Could go for a fetch here if you wanted in order to make this get the 3 counters on it straight away, and that's exactly what he does, goes for the Gruul fetch. So gets out a Surveil land with that, and that will be the 3rd counter on this, able to crack it for a couple of basics. Deciding to shuffle, went down to 35 life, or would have been 36 life with the Sylvan Library, so he knows what's on top. Wanted to shuffle it with this before seeing what was on top with the Surveil, and decided to throw away a Mountain from the top of his library, so down to 4 cards in hand, but still has the library. A Cultivator's Caravan for the 3 colour player, add 1 mana of any colour. So once again holding up double blue. A Scheming Symmetry going to share a tutor with the Kasla. And now the Guardian of Gaia Report swinging in towards us. The dog goes in at the left. Just have to hope that no interaction's held up here. Alright, so we'll have to see if we can hold up and offer you can't refuse, if that will be of any relevance. Know that we're drawing into a Black Market Connections, but I do want to get an aura going, I think, so Songbird's Blessing onto the commander might be alright. Play Hall of Heliod's Generosity so that we can grab enchantments back. We're making our commander a bigger threat because it's got an aura on it and it's the commander, but we won't be able to swing in with anything that we take control of this turn, unfortunately. And I do want to be getting other auras down, so hopefully get into some here. I'll go straight down the middle, trigger the Songbird's Blessing, and we reveal Indestructibility, which will allow us to steal the Angel. So definitely say yes to that, and it comes into play, we steal that away. Noteworthy that this enchants are permanent, so we could have taken the Sylvan Library, I suppose. Might have been an idea. And Eriette is a triggered ability, so okay, and a Flicker of Fate, so let's go for the offer you can't refuse on that, simply for the fun of it. Might be able to get counter magic out of this player's hand if he wants to interfere, but looks as though he's just passing priority. So we do gain control of that thing. Eriette the Beguiler is a triggered ability, as I was saying, so we don't actually have to keep our commander in play now. We just have to keep the indestructibility on this in order to keep hold of it. But having an indestructible flyer back as a blocker might be useful as the game progresses. Sylvan Library sends Omnath down to 30 life. 6 cards in hand at the moment. And just playing a Harrow, so able to sacrifice a land and get a couple of untapped ones into play. Followed by more ramp in a Farseek. Alright, so then we saw a Hull Breach, so that went after our Sol Ring and our Indestructibility, so our opponents I imagine it's going to be a difficult deck to play with this anyway, because like I said before, I'm not sure how many people are going to actually play creatures into this for fear of losing them. And players really don't like it when you have targeted discard and targeted mill and stealing their creatures away. So as soon as they see this commander doing the least little bit of something, I think they're all going to target you. Anyway, the Angel comes back over here. A Soaring for the Jeskai player now as well. Followed by a Felidar Retreat, able to give plenty of tokens, the ability to Convoke. So playing a land into that and likely going to make a 2/2 cat token. And then following that up with a Mentor of the Meek, so wasn't going to be able to pay into that to draw a card from the cat beast anyway. But tokens do trigger this thing for a card draw. A Panharmonicon, starting to see some real threats come into play now as soon as the Hull Breach is used. And the 3/3 continuing to come in at us. The Dog continuing to go in at the left. We can negate the damage from the Angel at least, as long as our commander stays in play. We've lost out on a decent sum of mana here, and we are missing land drops. We immediately replace it with a Mana Crypt though, so yeah, we'll see what aura we get, and then it might be Sage's Reverie to draw 3 cards. So I'll swing into the left against Omnath. This time revealing an All That Glitters, so I think we say yes to that. And we can put that on either the Dog, because it has to be equal to or less than with mana value. I think the Cat is going to be the best bet because of Convoke, so take as many creatures away over there as possible. Triggers the Eriette. So like I said before, we just need to keep the enchantment on this. It doesn't necessarily matter if we lose our commander. So what we could do is make use of the Heliod's Generosity to get this back and then steal a Sylvan Library or something. Because of the Enchanter Permanent type, like I said. Get down Mana Crypts. Could do that during the upkeep if we manage to keep our Mana Crypt. I don't really mind tapping out here, to be honest. Let's go for the Sage's Reverie first, and then we can decide if we want to go for that Black Market Connection or not. So we'll go after the Mentor of the Meek whilst our opponent is tapped out over here, because mana's held up here and I would like to land this. So again, triggering the Eriette and triggering the Sage's Reverie, which is really the thing I'm bothered about. Might get some card draw from Mentor though. Gets us into Spectral Grasp and a Necromancy, which will grab our commander back at some point most likely. So again, we're getting into the Surveil lands. Let's have a look at the top of our library. And that's another land on top. Probably a good idea to keep hold of that, so yeah, we'll draw an additional card with the Black Market Connections, keep that on top and get the black enchantment into play. It's noteworthy that the Beast token is now an 8/8 thanks to the enchantments and artifacts that we've got in play. So yeah, if we do go for Indestructibility back on top of our library next turn, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 with the Scrubland. Get an additional mana with this maybe, so we could still go for something like Generous Gift. But yeah, Indestructibility onto this next turn for additional cards. Blasphemous Act going to wipe everything out unfortunately. So we will not return our commander to the command zone. And then it's a Renin 6. So return a land from your graveyard to your hand most likely. And they do go after a fetch. Another land being played for a cat token. Vamp Tutor being played in response to that for some reason. Not whether there's a Field of Ruin here as well, so that could go after the Hall of Heliod's Generosity. I'd be holding on to it for Omnath personally. Guy's Cradle and Field of the Dead, Nykthos. And there we see Kasla for the first time. I've already faced against this once and it goes off quickly, so our opponents are going to have to lose the tunnel vision if they don't want to lose to it. The 5/4 could deal with Renin 6 here, see if it swings in at us instead. Of course it does. The highest amount of mana that we can put into an aura is 5-drop. We do have an 8-drop in the Eldrazi Conscription, but not hoping that we're going to draw into that. So it's not likely that we'll take control of the commander. Jeskai Ascendancy is a good one. So maybe we're going to have to hold up Generous Gift for the Kasla. Barrowin into play for the first time now that our commander's gone down. So venturing into the dungeon a couple of times thanks to the Panharmonicon. And it's into Dungeon of the Mad Mage, so it will be gain a life and then scry 1. And a Felidar Guardian going to flicker the commander for further ventures into the dungeon. So flickering his land, because he gets double triggers on this as well. So ends up in the Goblin Bazaar making a treasure token, then it is scry 2 at the lost level. So we know that we're drawing into a land here, and then during the main phase we can make Is it 6 life we dump into this? Yeah, it might be worth having a chump blocker. It'll hold back cards like this. So we'll just this once make a creature token. And we want to draw an additional card and make a treasure as well. Alright, there's a Fallen Ideal, which is a good means of sacrificing the creatures we take a hold of. So it's Scrubland. We want to go Necromancy onto our Eriette. And we're doing this at sorcery speed so that Necromancy isn't sacrificed. Kasla is holding up priority here, so if he has free counter magic or an offer you can't refuse, something like that, then Eriette will be stuck in the bin until we get into Animate Dead or something. Allows it into play for us to grab our commander back. We'll go Spectral Grasp. We're going to have to put it onto this because I don't imagine it's going to leave us alone. And then I think we're fine to hold up Generous Gift and the Hall of Heliod's Generosity. So we're going to have 3 auras that we control. If we decide to go for the Sage's Reverie again to draw more cards, could go for Fallen Ideal for a 4th one. It looks as though we're not going to have time to take the green enchantment from Omnath. There's a card I'd love to draw into called Asinine Antics, which will put Wicked Roll tokens, I think they are, onto all our opponent's creatures. Those are auras, and it'll steal away all the tokens because they match in mana value. And obviously that's pretty good against Omnath, who plays a Mana Crypt of his own. Down to 17 life over there. Took some more damage from the Sylvan Library. And there we see Omnath hasn't cracked the Prismatic Vista yet. May well have a land for us as well. So cracks the Vista now. Now Cultivator's Caravan deciding to crew from the commander for some reason. And then tapping that down for a white mana. They could have done that anyway. I don't know why they needed to risk it being destroyed. Because it's obviously got an additional card type now. Alright, Swords to Plowshares went on Omnath and Omnath just scoops it up like a baby. So, yep. Swords to Plowshares making people quit as ever. Oh, that's why. I forgot about the clause on Jeskai Ascendancy. It untaps all your creatures and gives them +1/+1. So that's the reason that our opponent went for it. Because they've obviously got some kind of Convoke. Going to loot here with the Ascendancy. Got rid of a Clever Concealment. And then can't attack us with the commander. So we'll see if he swings in at all. Or if he's really just focused on us. So over to the Jeskai player's turn now. Glad I didn't enchant anything from the Omnath player because that would have reduced the number of auras that we've got in play. Kthar's Crusade. I think we've seen this deck before on the channel. I can't remember what I was playing, but it went off pretty well last time. Although they had a battle that they flipped round and it gave all their non-creatures Convoke, I think it was, so they could get out a Kthar's Crusade for just 2 mana and go off pretty quickly. Right, so with Jeskai Ascendancy on the stack, they crew the Cultivator's Caravan, and this will generate more mana for them, so makes total sense for them to do that. Only got 1 card in hand at the moment though. Discarding a Stoke the Flames, means of dealing 4 damage to any target. Alright, and the Cultivator's Caravan coming in towards us, so is that going to have to eat a Generous Gift? They have to swing in the commander to the right. Is it wiser to take out the Kthar's Crusade? They're not getting too much additional mana from the Caravan. Yeah, we either take 6 damage from this or we take 3 damage from this and just make another chump blocker, so makes sense to just block here as long as we can keep hold of our commander. Now then, can they venture all the way through the Dungeon of the Mad Mage this turn? We shall see. Priest of Ancient Lore is another flicker target. Gain a life, draw a card. And obviously that triggers twice, as do all their creatures. A Wall of Omens will do the same without the life gain, then just throwing down an Arcane Signet. Not likely, our opponent's going to swing in towards us because it seems as though we're going to keep hold of our Eriette here. So at the end step, we will go after the either Songbird's Blessing or the Sage's Reverie. I think we'll go after the Reverie. So that is on top of our library. We know what we're drawing into, I think. Might just go for the 6 damage onto the Black Market Connections again, even though I said I wasn't going to do that. We've got the risk of Mana Crypt taking damage as well. And it does have us lose life. So do we need the treasure token is the question. We can go for... If we have to go for Hall of Heliod's Generosity again, that taps down 3 lands. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Sage's Reverie. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 for something else. Or just hold up the Generous Gift again. Let's go for the life. We'll just act totally recklessly here. Alright, there's a Serra's Sanctum. So that's plenty of mana for us. that means that we can go for the Fallen Ideal here, I think. So we might as well steal the Priest away from our opponent. So let's go for the Cat token being stolen. Although these are good flicker targets. Yeah, we'll go for the Wall of Omens, it's a decent blocker. And this obviously means that we're controlling more enchantments. Triggers the Beguiler, and we'll bring it in under our control. And then it can be Serra's Sanctum, we can tap that down for 4 mana straight away. In order to go for the Sage's Reverie. Steal the commander away with that, maybe? Yeah, I think that's alright. So we'll let the commander resolve first and then draw the cards. Don't suppose it matters which order we do it in. Alright, and there is a Void Rend as well as an Aganjo. We've got Swords to Plowshares, so yeah, getting into the interaction isn't the worst. And we can still hold up Hall of Heliod's Generosity as well, so the question is, can this player untap the... where is it? Where's it gone? The Cultivator's Caravan. They could crew it and untap it if they've got a non-creature available to them. It would be good to steal this away at some point because it's got combo potential. Although we could just blow it up. Want to be gaining life here, so we'll just go into the right. There's nothing to stop us going Hall of Heliod's Generosity to put something on top at the end of this player's turn and then do it again during our upkeep so that we can put 2 enchantments on top. But yeah, after taking damage to the black market connections, it's good to be able to gain it back with the Eriette because obviously we are sinking a lot of life into Mana Crypt and black market. Alright, so there is Path to Exile. That means that, yeah, he could have done that in response to us doing it to him so that he could get the ramp. We will get the land ramp here instead. There could be a board wipe from this player, so he's potentially wasting this, and he could also mess up our Hall of Heliod's Generosity with a Path. Anyway, able to make him use Path to get his own commander back, and he won't mind recasting it, I don't imagine. Let's just go for a black source arbitrarily. Noteworthy that with this, we've got a couple of auras in the deck where we can sacrifice creatures, so if they do go for targeted removal onto the aura itself, we can sack the creature so they don't regain control of it. And that means Sage's Reverie is back in the bin now as well, so we could still grab that back and draw more with it. I think our opponent's going to want to take a turn off to get rid of Hall of Heliod's Generosity, maybe. A Locust God, we're going to have to be careful with that one. Triggers the Cathar's Crusade. So if we want to use Swords to Plowshares, it's best to do it now because it's going to buff the power, but our opponent's already at 36, we haven't really been able to get through yet. And it's between these two to win it, I think. We're going to annoy our opponents, but I don't see that we're particularly strong and powerful and that we're going to win. You can't run a deck full of massive auras, unfortunately, because obviously you've got to take the mana curve into account, so not sure if we're going to be able to take control of the Locust God. The commander swings into the right as a 6/5, putting our opponent on 12 commander. So this enchantment, whilst not taking control of our opponent's commander, it is forcing it to go into the right away from us, which obviously is the reason that it's in here. So Barrowin back into play again, and it's going to get our opponent into the Deep Mines, either via Runestone Caverns or the Muriel's Graveyard. Decides to go into the Runestone Caverns, so exile the top 2 cards and you can play them. Exiling an Eerie Interlude, so this is where it's relevant that we've left things like Felidar Guardian and Priest of Ancient Lore in play, not that we could have done anything about it. So, Eerie Interlude, I think it's swords onto this maybe? Then they can't complete the dungeon. I think that's fine here. But they'll be able to draw a couple of cards off this twice thanks to the Felidar, so yeah, we still haven't really dealt with the issue yet. I'm just trying to keep hold of removals so that we can protect ourselves and maximise the length of time we're in this game. Anyway, get a Scry 3 as well, so they're at the penultimate point of the dungeon here, so Mad Wizard's Lair is the next one. Draw 3, reveal them. You can cast one without paying the mana cost, so that could be very damaging. Okay, so I think Hall of Heliod's Generosity can go on to something now in response to the interlude. Do we just go for the Sage's Reverie again? I think that's fine. Then we need to decide if we want to go Generous Gift onto anything over here. I think we just have to try and leave it for now. Anyway, these things re-enter, so... Right, so draw 2. It points itself at a mana source and at the dwarf, as you would expect. And then it re-enters and draws the cards again, so... Ending the turn with a mana held up and 6 cards in hand now. And I think during the upkeep I will go for an All That Glitters so that we can draw more cards and we'll be able to gain more life with the commander if it's left alone. So Point Hall of Heliod's Generosity at the All That Glitters we've got the 2 enchantment cards on top now. So draw into that one, and we'll draw an additional card with the connections. And yeah, once again, as long as we're gaining life with our commander, I think we're fine to go for all of them. So it can be All That Glitters onto the Eriette, and then I'll just tap down the Serra's Sanctum now, even though it could make more mana afterwards. I think it's a good idea to take this Felidar Guardian away from our opponent. Not whether the Jeskai player isn't holding up priority here, so doesn't look as though he's got anything for us. Ideally, we'd be able to take this away as well, so that he doesn't have a blocker for our 15/15 commander. And there's an Anguished Unmaking. We've got Eldrazi Conscription there as well to take away the Locust God. Got Light Paws as well, which could be relevant. Might have to hold on to that until after a board wipe though. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not sure we can hold up Interaction though if we decide to go for this. So maybe hold that for next turn whilst the Jeskai player's in top deck mode, it seems. So let's go for Anguished Unmaking onto this thing now, simply so that we can get through. And because we've got 2 mana floating from the Serra's Sanctum, feels like a little bit of a waste of an Anguished Unmaking, but it is a good card draw effect for them. It's turn 8 now, so we could do with starting to see the back of players, ideally. So 15 commander damage, not sure how much we've dealt here, actually. Yeah, they'll be on only 19, but this will jump us up back to 29, so yeah, I'm happy with that. The lifelink on Eriette is relevant. Alright, so we'll play the Marsh Flats here. We could get down a tap land with that if we don't end up using the mana. And that leaves us with 7 cards in hand, including Interaction, plenty of it. So I think we're fine to just pass it there. He's on 12 damage from the Kasla as well, so it's not looking too likely that he'll get commander damage here, but yeah, making an insect token, Kthar's Crusade will trigger again. So I think it might be an idea to take the commander with the Eldrazi Conscription, because if he's really looking to convoke, and he's got a convoke spell here seemingly, then might break the deck if we get rid of Kasla. Able to draw 2 cards with Meeting of the Minds. And Jeskai Ascendancy is... it's probably too good to leave in play, isn't it? Able to loot, and this is scry 2 and draw when he convokes. So yeah, let's go for Generous Gift onto this thing. I think it's too good. Kthar's Crusade's really good. The Locust God's really good. It's tricky. Problem is this is on cast, isn't it? So we're just going to further buff with a Generous Gift. Maybe just go for Void Rend onto it then. So they will get another Convoke here, unfortunately, if they want one. And drawing a card from their commander does make another Insect token for further buffs. And then they obviously draw with the Jeskai Ascendancy as well. Going for Cultivator's Caravan now. Do we have to go after that Locust God? I think we do. Annoying as it is. Yeah, Generous Gift onto that as well. Okay, so do they have something in response to this? Maybe they just want to go for dumping mana into the loot effect on it. Yeah, that is what they're doing. That's costing them 4 mana to do that, so not the worst outcome. And they've discarded a Huari Disruption at the moment. And Generous Gift makes a token, so that's going to trigger the Kthar's Crusade as well. And Locust God is returned to the hand at the next end step, so it's not even gone for definite yet. At least they have to be more careful about what they tap down for Convoke now, thanks to the Jeskai Ascendancy going down. Anyhow, that will resolve finally, and see what they discard to it. Getting rid of a Myriad Angel. Another means of making tokens. And at the moment, this is an 11-10. Is the 5 commander damage from that? Yep. A Welcoming Vampire. Obviously hasn't triggered yet. Will trigger the Kthar's Crusade when it enters, though. So I think the Eldrazi Conscription is definitely going to have to go on the commander here. I mean, it still can't attack us at least. Another cat token with Felidar Retreat, so not going for the Vigilance. That triggers Welcoming Vampire for the first and last time this turn. Alright, so that swings into the right, and 13 plus 12, so this player goes down. And then the rest is coming in at us, so we're going to have to make some blocks, I imagine. Didn't manage to hold up the Gonjo, but it couldn't have taken anything out anyway, at least. Alright, so Wall of Omens and the Felidar Guardian are going to go down anyway, so we'll block a flyer. Block a couple of the big things on the ground coming in towards us. So we'll just take some damage in the air. I'm going to sacrifice both of these creatures so that we can get a buff and make sure that, I think, if this player decided to scoop and it was enchanted with our stuff, I don't think this would go in the bin. I think it would go into exile. Maybe not. I don't think that's how it should work, but Magic Online's a bit weird. There's no trample or anything here, so might as well sack these. Do have fewer enchantments in play now, though. So that player goes down. Fallen Ideal is going to return back to our hand. Does plenty of things, Fallen Ideal. It's one of the better auras in the deck. It means a buffing, flying, a sack outlet, and it comes back to our hand, so we don't have to mess around with Hall of Heliod's Generosity and the like. Locust God back into the hand, and it is probably a case of Kasla being able to go wide on us at this point. We lose the flip to Mana Crypt, draw into a Talisman, and with that on the stack, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 enchantments in play at the moment. Could get this in, that would be 5. Just trying to make this tap down for as much as possible. And see if any other auras are of any relevance, like indestructibility. I don't think they are, unfortunately. Maybe just the Sage's Reverie again. So I'm going to put this on the stack, holding control, and it should allow us to hold priority. But it doesn't always work for whatever reason on Magic Online. Alright, it has worked this time, so can go for the haul. On to Sage's. Argument to be made for Songbird's Blessing as well, though. Yeah, let's just go for the Reverie. Alright, so let's get an untapped land into play. And can we go Light Pause first? Then we'll tap these down for the Fallen Ideal. That will leave us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. 6 with the Light Pause because it'll grab something from the Fallen Ideal. Yeah, we'll do this. So we'll go Sage's Reverie onto the Welcoming Vampire because it's a flyer and it's a means of card draw for our opponent as well. Noteworthy, we've drawn into Propaganda here, which may well be worth getting down. Flight of Fancy is going to draw us 2 cards and get Light Pause flying. Angelic Destiny is flying as well and a decent buff, as well as First Strike. Yeah, let's get that down. Alright, and it seems as though our opponent's lost connection to the game. He was complaining before that he finds this deck annoying. So I'm hoping that... he said he has to go. I'm hoping that that's genuine and that he's not worried about us taking all his stuff and coming back from this. Typically on Magic Online, if an opponent has an out, he has all the patience in the world and will stick the game out, and if he doesn't, then all of a sudden he has to go and doesn't have any patience for the game anymore, doesn't want to wait around to eventually lose. So I'm going to assume that that's where my opponent's headspace was. Ultimately, we take the Welcoming Vampire from their side of the field because it's a flying blocker, and then use Eldrazi Conscription to enchant their commander. It has haste, so we can swing in with its +10/+10 buff straight away and get them with commander damage because they don't have any blockers. This assumes that they don't have any removal, but like I said, if they had some kind of interaction, some kind of removal, it's very likely that they would have stuck it out. More likely that they were worried that we were going to pull back from this and wanted to do a runner before we managed to get that off. So I think we were winning here anyway this turn. I don't feel too bad about our opponent scooping on us like that, although it's probably worth a ban anyway. If you want to see more Eriette gameplay, or you want to see me build Kasla, then let me know. I'm quite interested in running that commander now that it's on Magic Online. List is in the description as ever, as is the link to Patreon if you value my valiant efforts, if I do say so myself. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.